What's going on, guys? This is your boy Astrum Sensei and welcome back to Unreal Engine 4 for complete beginners. I know I haven't been uploading any of these videos and I've been very inactive on my channel, but yeah, I'm trying to come back and yeah, it's been a while since I made one of these videos, so I thought we could do a new video. And today we are going to start learning blueprints. We're going to start with the basics and we're going to climb to become able to make a full game. But yeah, before we get started, the usual, like the video, subscribe to help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers, and super special thanks to my patrons who are supporting this channel. So for blueprints, I'm actually going to do several videos and not just one, and that is because, you know, there is a lot to cover. And I want to start with the very basics of it, and you know, we want to be able to do stuff by the end of learning blueprints. So I'm gonna do several videos right now on blueprints, and we're gonna learn something else, like, I don't know, something to get started with our first game, and then we were gonna get back to blueprints and, you know, learn more of it. So they won't be not all of the blueprint videos will be in order, so there will be stuff between them. But yeah, let us get started. So over here in our content browser, we have this folder called third person BP, which stands for blueprints, and there is a folder inside it called blueprints. Now here you have two stuff, which are the third person character and the third person game mode. So the third person character is basically your player character, and a lot of the gameplay mechanics and almost everything about the playable, everything playable in the game, will be in the character, in this character, or otherwise it will be something like a different blueprint that is connected to this character blueprint. So yeah, this is basically the core of your game. And I forgot to explain what a blueprint actually is. A blueprint is basically a script. If you've ever used Unity, you know what a script is. It's basically a few lines of code that, you know, they make up your game. So they are based on variables. For example, if something is something, then do that thing, and if it's not, then do the other thing. And yeah, that's basically the basics of programming. So this third person character actually comes up with the template, the third person template. It has a lot of pre-made stuff in it. For example, the movement and all of that stuff. But yeah, we're going to take a look at them one by one and see how it works without them. We're also going to take a look on how to create a character blueprint from scratch, but we're not going to do it. I'm just going to show you how to get started with it. And if you want to do that, you can check out my action RPG tutorial series, but that one is very advanced. Like, not very, but it's a little bit more advanced, and I wouldn't advise beginners to get started with it. Instead, we're gonna do something based on this. Since, you know, we're making a game that's mostly about walking and jumping, we wanna, you know, use this, and it's gonna be very simple. So yeah, we're gonna replace the character eventually and the animations and make it our own game. So to create your own blueprint, you can right click in the content browser, or you can just click add new. And there is something called a blueprint class. Just click it and it will give you a lot of options, and I'm gonna try to explain all of them quickly. An actor is, it says here that it's an object that can be placed or spawned in the world, but yeah, that's not a good explanation. An actor is basically something, some type of object that you can interact with inside of your game, and it's most likely not gonna be something that's alive, so it's not a character. Basically, I don't know, like health pickups or other stuff like that, batteries in horror games. Yeah, that's what an actor is. Then we have the pawn. A pawn is an actor that can be possessed and receive input from a controller. In other words, it's the same as the character, but it has a few differences. We're gonna get into them later, but I always recommend using the character instead. And the character is a type of pawn that includes the ability to walk around. And yeah, the pawn can also walk around, so I don't know, ignore that, but yeah. Next we have the player controller. Now, what a player controller is it's basically the brain of your pawn or character, and that is like, you can give it certain conditions and other stuff that are specific to the player like to the player, and you know, if you're using the same character for the AI, you're gonna give it an AI controller instead of a player controller. So yeah, it's a little bit different from the AI controller. It's more directed towards the player. So yeah, let's read this. A player controller is an actor responsible for controlling a pawn used by the player. Next we have game mode base. Game mode base defines the game being played, its rules, scoring, and other facets of the game type. We'll get back to this one later. And also these two, we're going to get back to them later, but we're going to read them quickly. An actor component is a reusable component that can be added to any actor. And then we have the scene component, which is a component that has a scene transform and can be attached to other scene components. And we have other stuff here like AI controllers and other things. A lot of stuff here, but yeah, they added the most common ones above. So yeah, we're gonna check everything out later in this series, but for now we are gonna try creating a character, and we're not gonna name it because we're not gonna use it. But yeah, if you go into it after you created it, you can see that you have a capsule component, an arrow component, a mesh, and a character movement. Here you have your variables and all of the stuff we're gonna learn. And if you go to this event graph, this is basically where we are going to write our code. Now I know a lot of people don't consider blueprints code, but in fact they are. It's coding, it's considered coding, and I'm pretty sure everything you code in blueprints later gets translated into C++. If we take a look at the ready third-person character blueprint, we can see a few differences. We have over here the camera boom and the follow camera. And basically these are the things that the player sees the game through. And we also have a character inside of the mesh. Over here the mesh component is empty and there is no skeletal mesh inside of it. And one other thing is we have variables here that, you know, help set up the event graph. So if you go to the event graph of this one, there is inputs for the walking and the turning, and also the jumping. So actually we are not going to be editing this stuff in this video. We are just going to do something very simple, and that is doing a lamp that you can turn off and turn on using the level blueprint. That's it for the character blueprint. We are going to delete the one we created earlier. So yeah, now we are going to check out the level blueprint, and the level blueprint is basically a blueprint, which is like a script also, but it's dedicated to your level, to each level. Each level has one, and it's separate between each two levels, so each one has a clean slate for the level blueprint. And with the level blueprint you can do specific things for the level, for example turn on and off a light, and you know, destroy an object, and you know, set music for each part of the level, and I don't know, open doors if your doors aren't, you know, they're separate blueprint actors. And yeah, a lot of stuff, for example opening drawers, a lot of that stuff. So in today's video we are gonna do the light switch thing, and yeah, let's do that right now by going into the level blueprint. So to go to the level blueprint, you go over here above and there is a blueprints button. Click it and there should be an option to open level blueprint. If you open that, you shall see an empty blueprint with no variables and nothing. It's a very clean slate. So to show you how this level blueprint can affect your level, we are gonna do the light thing I talked about earlier. And to do that, we are gonna choose a point light from our level. Actually, no, I'm gonna go with this spotlight, and I'm gonna delete the point light I made earlier. Yeah, this is the spotlight. And why is it so weak? I want to make it stronger. Yeah, like this. I increased the intensity from the details panel, in case you're wondering. And yeah, we want to use this light in the level blueprint to create the light switch. So to do that, we are gonna simply, with the spotlight selected, or any light you want to use, you keep it selected in your viewport and you right click in your event graph, and there should be called create reference to Spotlight. So you want to click that, and what this does, it just brings your Spotlight over here, and you can do a lot of stuff. For example, you can set intensity. As you can see, you have the intensity like this, and you can do a lot of stuff with this reference. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna create a box here that if you press the E button while you're inside of this box, this invisible box, and we're gonna pretend there's a light switch on the wall, or you know what, let's just create one. We're gonna drag in a cube and make it smaller like this, and turn off snapping. Yeah, like this. This is our light switch. It's way too big, so I'm gonna make it smaller. Yeah, like this. And yeah, if you press the E button while you are here, the light will turn on and off. And to do that, we need something called a trigger box. So this trigger box is an asset that you can use that activates a blueprint only if you are inside it, or you know, if you've touched it. So we are gonna go to the recently placed, I think, no. Where was it? Okay, yeah, it's in the volumes, so... No, where was it really? Yeah, just go to search and type in trigger. And you know, you have a few options. There is a capsule trigger, there is a sphere trigger, and there is a trigger volume, but I'm just gonna go with the trigger box. And I'm gonna make it larger so that it covers the entire thing. Like this. And then we are gonna bring it also into this level blueprint. Now to do that, with it selected, again, the same as the light reference, we are gonna right click here, and there should be three options. There is add event for trigger box 1, call function on trigger box 1, and create a reference to trigger box. Now this create reference is the one we've used for the light, but for the trigger box we want to use something different. If you go into add event, there should be a collision collapse thing, and there is on actor begin overlap, on actor end overlap, and on actor hit. So the one we want to choose is on actor begin overlap, because you know it happens when you begin touching the box, and on actor end overlap happens when you end your overlap with the box. So we are gonna go with on actor begin overlap, and you should see this node thing come out. And yeah, I forgot to explain, these are nodes, each one is a node, and you can call other nodes from it. And you know, basically to make it for beginners, I want to say, I don't know, something very simple, but I can't come up with words. Basically your game is gonna be a mess of nodes, and they are gonna be very connected, and that way you're gonna build a solid game in Unreal Engine 4 using only blueprints. So yeah, you have on actor begin overlap. This is when your player touches the box, the trigger box, and what we want to do is we want to set this one to be either true or false based on your input. So we are gonna type in also input E, and yeah, I forgot to mention, you bring out this menu by right clicking, and from here you can choose a lot of nodes that you can, you know, experiment with and make your game. But yeah, I'm gonna type in input, and it's not typing, of course. Input E, and I don't know, yeah, it's here. So this is basically the keyboard events. You can choose to make a set of events based on what you press over here, like one of the keyboard buttons. If you press it, something happens based on what you choose. So we're gonna go with the E button, and yeah, we have pressed released. So yeah, now we have to make a condition for what happens when we press E, and we want to connect it to when we are touching the trigger box, so it only happens if we are inside of the trigger box. And what happens is we basically turn on or off this one. So inside of the spotlight there should be something called visible, and we are gonna set the visibility of the spotlight to be true or false based on if we press this. So you want to drag out from the spotlight. This is where you connect your stuff. This part, you have pins here that you can connect to other pins, and that way your blueprint happens. So yeah, just drag out and you should see this menu happen when you drag out and let go of your left mouse button. Now you want to type in set visibility, and here it is, spotlight component. Now I'm not sure, do we really need this? Yeah, we do, okay. And the new visibility will be false, so we can turn off this light based on this. And this happens only with E pressed, so just drag out of pressed and connect it to the set visibility, and that way when you press E it turns off or on the light. So we're gonna try it out. If we hit play and go into our game, we can press E and that way it turns off the light, but for starters it doesn't turn it back on if you press the E button again. And the other thing is that it doesn't happen when you are in the trigger box. So yeah, we're gonna fix that right now. And the reason it doesn't turn back on is because we only made the blueprint for it happen if it's pressed, and you know, you can do this if you press it or release it, and the visibility will, oh no, it won't change. Okay, no problem. Now yeah, we have two options. We can either copy all of this, or you know, just copy this one and connect the target to the set visibility, and that way you can connect it to the released and set the new visibility to be true. And what happens is if you press the E button and hold it, it turns off the light, but if you release it turns it back on. And yeah, I think it's a nice effect, but it's not realistic and it's not what we want to do. So to do the trigger thing, for example, yeah, you want to do it like a light switch. You turn it off and you turn it back on whenever you want. And the way to do this is not by using the released button. We can just drag out of the E and type in flip-flop. And what this does is it switches between these two each time. So for example, if the first time it did this part, this pin, this, I don't know, link, whatever, the next time it does the other one, which is turn the light back on. And when we release, nothing happens. So yeah, this is what we want. We're gonna compile and give it a try. So yeah, if we are in the game and we press E, we can turn it off and on and on and off. And yeah, however much we want, nothing changes. And you know, we have shadows and it looks very good. Now what we want to do is we want to turn on this trigger box thing, and yeah, we want to make it so that we can only turn on and off the light next to the light switch. And the only way, no, I mean there isn't only one way to do it. There are so many ways to do that, and I'm not gonna explain them all in this video, just to make sure that you guys understand things slowly. I think learning a lot of stuff very quickly is a mistake that you don't want to do, because yeah, it causes a lot of problems. So yeah, we are gonna do it only one way, and we're gonna learn other ways later. You can experiment with it later as you go, and it makes things easier later. Even if I don't show you how to do it right now, it's gonna happen and you're gonna learn it by yourself eventually. So first we want to specify the overlapped actor. So we want to tell it if this specific actor touches the trigger box and presses the E button, only then that this happens. And yeah, the way we do this is we get the overlapped actor first, and we look for the player. So there are many ways to do this. I'm just gonna type in player, and yeah, there are many ways to do it. Actually, yeah, we can cast to player controller, and that way it only happens with the player controller. And no, actually there are many other ways to do it. Yeah, let's just keep this. Yeah, we're just gonna keep trying this one. And then if the player controller is touching this, then we are gonna do the other thing, which is make sure that this only works if the player is touching the trigger box. And to do that, we need something called a variable, which is this part over here. Now, a variable is basically a small condition that you can set, whether it's true or false, or a number. We are just gonna go with the true and false for this video. So yeah, we want to create a new variable, and we are gonna call it, yeah, we're just gonna call it something stupid and simple for the sake of this video. We're gonna call it player touching, or you know what, yeah, we're just gonna call it next to light switch. And this variable is a type boolean. We are only gonna learn the boolean for today, and we're gonna do a video specifically for the variables. Booleans are basically variables that are either true or false. So over here you have whether you can set it true or false. We want it to be false by default, and then we want to set it to be true only when we are touching this. So the way to do this is you want to drag out of here, and you should get two options: get next to light switch and set next to light switch. We want to set it and connect it to the, after we cast to the player controller, we want to set the next to the light switch to be true, and that way we specified that we are next to the light switch. And yeah, we specified that, but we didn't ask this one to only do this part if the player is next to the light switch. So what we want to do is we want to make way for a new node, and there is a node, another node, which is very useful, and it's basically the base of programming and blueprints all together, and that is the branch node. The branch node asks you a condition. For example, our condition here is next to the light switch. We check if we are next to the light switch. If it's true, then we can turn on the light, and if it's false, we do nothing. So to do this, you either drag out the next to light switch variable and get it and connect it like this, or you can just drag it and drop it into the condition pin, and it connects automatically. And yeah, now we've checked whether it's next to the light switch or not. So let's give it a try and see what the problem now is. And if we hit play and play the game, we cannot turn on and off the light. But if we go next to the light switch and turn off the light, yeah, it still doesn't work. So I think I know what the problem is, and that is that our character here is not the one we want to use. I think we want to, yeah, let's give it a try like this. I think we didn't need it altogether. Yeah, we didn't. So yeah, as you can see, if you hit the light button, you can turn on and off the lamp, or you know, the wall, I don't know, ceiling lamp or whatever, and it turns it on and off, and that's very cool. But the problem is now is that if you get far away from the light switch and keep pressing the E button, the light keeps turning on and off, and you know, you're very far from the light switch, and I know it's very magical. And yeah, that's what we're gonna fix right now. So we told it to set the condition for if we are next to the light switch to be true. If we touch the, like if we begin overlapping with the trigger box, now we want to tell it if we are not overlapping with the trigger box to set this variable or condition to be false. So to do that, just right click. Oh, first we want to select the trigger box in our level or in our viewport. So with it selected, you right click and add event for trigger box 1, collision, add on actor and overlap. And what this one does is it basically tells you what to do when you are not overlapping or touching the trigger box anymore. And we want to set this next to light switch variable to be false now. And basically what that does is it just tells it to turn the variable off, and that way you can no longer edit this part if you are not touching the light switch. I think now it's gonna work, so yeah, let's give it a try and hit play. And if we do that, and right now I'm gonna start pressing E, we can do nothing when we are 4. We can get close to the light switch and turn it on and off, and as you can see, it works. Now if we get far from the if we exit the trigger box, we can see that it no longer works. It only works if we are next to the trigger box, which is very cool. And yeah, it's very nice to have this thing in your game, so I really recommend trying it out. Now, one last thing I want to show you about blueprints, and that is that you can actually organize your blueprints by doing comments on stuff and, you know, making it very tidy and neat. And to do that, you just put your nodes next to each other and you can, you know, organize them. Then you can type like a comment to specify that this thing is specifically for the light switch. So if you select them all and press the C button, you can see the comment thing, and over here we are gonna name it. So we are gonna name it turn on and off light, or actually no, turn light switch on and off. So light without switch, just turn light on and off. And even inside of the comment, you can do other comments. For example, if we select the set next to light switch and the trigger boxes and we press the C button, you can add a different comment inside of the comment, which is very useful for remembering what each thing is about, and I really recommend it for beginners. So yeah, this comment, we are gonna call it set light switch variable. And the other one, we are gonna also comment on it to make sure that we remember what it's for. So we are gonna select all of them and press the C button, and then we are gonna name it. I don't know, what are we gonna name it? Set light visibility and yeah, based on input. And yeah, as you can see now, we can actually, no, we can't read anything because they are colliding. If we get this like this, yeah, now we can see you have this turn light on and off comment, and inside of it you have two comments, which are set light visibility based on input and set light switch variable. And another thing you can do, which I don't know if you want to use it or not, but you can select them all instead of the comment and right click on them and collapse nodes into one node, and we are gonna name it, I don't know, light switch. And basically you have all of your code that you've made inside of this one. So if you double click on it, you should see that you have the same blueprints or code inside of it now. So it's very organized like this, but I don't know if you want to use it or not. Sometimes it's not very, like, you don't want to use it at all places because sometimes you might lose stuff. There isn't really a definitive way to do stuff in, you know, programming. So yeah, I really recommend, you know, finding out what you want to do and your own methods. And yeah, one more thing I forgot to mention, that if you've put them in a node and you want to bring them out, you can just right click and you can click the expand node and it just brings back your code. So yeah, I forgot to mention something very important and, you know, beginner friendly, and that is you want to press compile every time you finish editing your code, and that way, you know, it puts it in your game, and, you know, it makes sure that you don't have any blueprint errors. And yeah, I think that's about it. I really hope you guys found this video useful and that you've learned something from it. I know that it's very basic and very beginner friendly, and yeah, that's the point of this series. And sometimes it's very important to learn the basics. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers, and don't forget to like the video to help motivate me to make more of these and more action RPG tutorials. And super special thanks to my super precious patrons, thank you very much. And yeah guys, I'll see you on the next video. Take care and bye.